in the healing work, there was a trajectory that happened for me in the beginning where I was just seeing people's thoughts and emotions as substance in their bodies and in their meridians and their chakras, and the resolution would happen in through those aspects. And then when I started seeing the past lives, so I'd have an image of, well, first it started with their physical body, of seeing a thought or an emotion at a different time, different point in time of this lifetime, their current lifetime, in the body in a particular place, and supporting the resolution of that. And then I started seeing the pictures of an incident that happened in this lifetime, and who it was with, and what the whole exchange was, and then seeing where those shadows, right, those contraction points, identification points, were in the system. And then those images started to have, I'd see the current time thing, and then there'd be literally a gold thread would open up behind the image, and then there'd be another image of a different lifetime, and then I'd see the players and see the relationship. Somewhere at that point, when I was seeing in that way, my consciousness had to surrender through another layer of the plane of, that I was working with. And I started seeing on the soul level, and seeing, so I had to surrender in myself, surrendering another layer of I am into that field. So then there was oneness within that field, and then I would see the whole, someone's soul, and so I'd see the emotion. Let's say we're working with grief. I'd see grief, but in their current body, but then I'd see grief in, 15 different lifetimes, and then work with resolving the grief on the soul level for that happening. And then it shifted to working with the soul and seeing the soul patterning. So not just those lifetimes, but this pattern of this soul. So the geometry of it, the structures of it, the pattern, the mandala of what the singular consciousness is exploring for itself through this patterning. And then in addressing the patterning, then it would shift in all those lifetimes and shift in through the body. And as things have continued, more layers are in there in terms of DNA and karma, and seeing the larger and smaller structures at the same time, right? The macro and the micro together. And then there was working with the collective. So when I was working with a large group of people, then it would be the whole collective field of karma and DNA changing, but also in relation to each individuated person. And then it shifted to seeing these light grids, which feel to me like an aspect of the mind, each of these aspects have layers. So there's the emotional body, the human sort of emotional body, soul emotional body. It's like they're layered, and again, I think this stuff will come into a greater refinement, so that I'll be able to really discern and describe all these different layers in time. Haha. And so the point of like bridging the two things that you were just saying, at another phase then in the healing, then I was seeing these light grids, which were both about mind, this unified mind and the grids of it, but that in there are reference points through time. So like I was seeing the field of time, and how do I describe this? So the way that when I was hearing you speak, right, I was just hearing you speaking about that, I don't know, this is the way I was hearing it, right, that excitement or that self-recognition of when you're feeling these different reference points of like, yeah, that's right, Chinese culture is so rich, it's like you're accessing these different parts of your your experience and opening to more of who you are. And so there's this joy of self-discovery, right? There's the whole, that's all that's happening is this like exquisite self-discovery. And when you are speaking, there's again this place of self-discovery, of recognizing time collapses and doesn't exist and it's all now, and being with the utter delight of that. And it's just different reference points for this same light grid where time is at play but also is made up and doesn't exist. That time is a frame, it's a construct. Yes. It's a construct for experience. And so then in the healing I would see these little contraction points in the light grid, the light grids, related to an idea of time, where identification held on to itself and is still held in now, waiting to then have more of a self-reflection of consciousness seeing itself and seeing through what that was, where those contractions were.